In the early days of electric cooperatives, it took strength of mind, body, and spirit to bring electric power to the countryside. It required people working together with a common vision, strong leadership, and assistance from an agency called the Rural Electrification Administration. That spirit of cooperation brought farmers, homeowners, and businessmen together in the quest to modernize rural Illinois. And members of Eastern Illini Electric Cooperative still benefit from the hard work and foresight of yesterday's co-op pioneers.
I'm talking to you from the farm where I was born in 1937. And what I remember about the lights coming on, I think in the early 1940s, was the kitchen was so bright. Stood in the doorway and just looked up and thought, wow.
We waited for electricity for a long time, and so my brother and I went to Watsika to do some shopping, and while we were gone, the electricity was turned on. My dad, thinking to surprise us, shut all lights off, he thought, and was going to surprise us later. So we came home, but he had forgotten the pantry light, so we saw that, so his surprise didn't work.
This is the reason I say it was so convenient. Before we had to use a lantern to get from the house to the barn in the dark and so forth. So it just changed our whole way of life.
I would also like to say that when Mom and Dad got the electricity, then it wasn't long after that till they bought an International Harvester deep freeze. And we are still using that deep freeze. It has never left this farm in all that time. We've moved it around a lot, and it's still working.
And then my parents had a dairy herd, which they had been milking by hand. So I think the first thing my father bought was a milking machine. And that really improved his life.
And just like the early days, electricity from Eastern Illini Electric Cooperative still makes barns and basements brighter, homes more inviting, and life in rural areas more comfortable. Co-op members have seen many changes over the years, including how much energy we use and where it comes from. And we've all benefited from improved appliances, better equipment, and modern technology. We've also seen other changes. The two original co-ops in our area, Eastern Illinois Power Cooperative and Illini Electric Cooperative, consolidated in 1987 to form Eastern Illini Electric Cooperative. That consolidation has saved members money and provided better service. But one thing hasn't changed: the mission to provide our members with safe, reliable, and affordable electric service. And today, just like the co-op pioneers of 75 years ago, Eastern Illini still represents an American ideal that personifies the value of individuals working together for the good of many to provide the energy that powers our lives.
Our story starts back in 1844 in not-so-merry England, where a group of weavers, fed up with the high price of company store groceries, pooled their money to buy their own food, creating a new form of business, the cooperative. The idea caught on. Here in the U.S., President Roosevelt gave electric cooperatives a jumpstart with the founding of the Rural Electrification Administration, the REA, telling American farmers and ranchers, if you want electricity, you can do it yourselves. And they did. Rural men and women quickly began scraping together the $5 needed for membership and equity in the co-op. Up went the poles and wire and lines to bring rural folks what they so desperately needed: power. Soon, electric cooperatives popped up all across the country, transforming the way of life in rural America. Today, there are more than 900 electric co-ops in the U.S., bringing electricity to some 42 million Americans. So how do cooperatives work? First off, cooperatives are not for profit. Money comes in from members when they pay their electric bills. Money goes out to pay co-op expenses. A little bit is set aside for emergencies and the future. Any leftover is returned to members. Pretty sweet, huh? But it's not just about the money. Co-ops exist only to serve their members. They have a unique set of cooperative principles. All may join, regardless of race or gender or creed. That's the first principle of cooperatives: voluntary and open membership. Members vote for the directors to lead their co-op. They vote yay or nay on big issues. Majority rules. That's the principle of democratic member control. Everyone pays a little money to become a member. An owner. We call that principle participating economically. Cooperatives believe and invest in education, training, and information. That makes them smart and sets them apart. Cooperatives stand on their own two legs. Decisions are made locally for local people. We call that principle autonomy and independence. But cooperatives also work together. They join forces to restore outages after storms, get financing, do research, and speak up in the halls of government. We call this hallowed principle cooperation among cooperatives. It's what makes us strong. And co-ops have a heart, a big heart. They help kids and industries and communities to grow. They give to hospitals and fire stations, ballparks and businesses. Cooperatives deeply demonstrate this principle: concern for community. Community's a cool concept. Communities are just groups of people. And that is the cooperative's secret ingredient. It's the dedicated people who work day in and day out to provide reliable and affordable power. It's the elected people who shape the policies and tackle the big issues. For the most important group of people, the members. Members, the whole reason cooperatives exist. Now that's the cooperative difference. And that's the cooperative advantage. Brought to you by the passionate people of NRECA.